You kind of felt 6 o'clock might be a bit early after you win the Preakness.
Yeah, exactly. I would have tried for 6 o'clock, but I didn't think it was happening.
What was the celebration like last night?
It was nice. Just obviously a bunch of partners and things like that. So some family. It's quiet, low key, but good meal. Couple of laughs, couple of nice toasts. So
Does
all
feel
good.
as good as you thought it would? For this
Yeah, a little bit of redemption, I guess in my heart of hearts, 3 Sundays ago, when he worked at Churchill Downs, I thought his work was so good that it would take an otherworldly effort to beat him. If the track was as it was on that Sunday, had a little weather through the week. Track may have changed a little bit. As I said, I'd like to have the first 100 yards over again, but my horse showed up, our horse showed up, he ran, lights out. He was second best.
And until 4 jumps before the wire, you were thinking...
Same thing. That's what I had said to Aaron last night. I said, when that happened, I just said, I can't believe this horse is going to run like this. But, run another bang-up race and have nothing to show for it. So for him to get his head down at the wire was one of the more amazing performances I've ever seen. I think a lot of us would probably have to put that in our highlight reel, top 5 kind of thing,
Yeah, have you gotten to watch it a couple
I
of
haven't.
times?
I haven't yet. No.
Because a lot of people were saying that last night, especially as they watched the replay multiple times. One of the great athletic runs they've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw it one time on the Jumbotron, and that was it.
To me, even though it seemed like he had clear running for a while, but it just seemed like the wire was coming, and I was like,
Exactly, and that's what it was. And when they hit the wire, I turned around, I looked at Todd, and he stuck out his hand. I said, "I'm not sure." He said, "Oh yeah, you got there." So I said, "Okay, all right, yeah, all right. You know better than I do."
Needed a second source.
Yeah, you would know better than I would. So
In the paddock before the race, it looked like Dwayne Lucas came over and said something to
yeah,
you.
he was obviously gave us some well wishes and stuff like that. So a big moment for me to have just a nice quiet moment with him. He's someone who's revolutionized the game and is still doing it at, nearly 90 years old.
Just comment on the athleticism of this horse. It seems like he needed every bit of that.
Yeah, that was certainly on display yesterday. I've said it all along. If you look at him, he looks so much like his sire. He's got the same frame. There's so much about him that would remind you of Curlin, and then obviously his athleticism. I think he gets a lot of that from Uncle Mo as well. For a big horse, he's nimble on his feet, and he's got a pedigree that screams, classics all day long.
You and Umberto have talked about his mind. I mean, does that help in those moments where he gets into trouble, or do you think that's more pure instinct?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, really, he's always been very easy on himself, which I think it really makes a difference going through something like this. He had 3 races in 7 weeks, and it didn't seem to affect him physically or mentally. Now, he got sick about 2 weeks after that, 10 days after that. Just those things happen. It's that time of year. But he's always been very workmanlike in everything he does. Just goes on about his business here. I thought he was great out on the grass yesterday. There was some noise and a lot going on. He was very good.
What do you think separates him from other good horses you've been around? Whether it's for yourself or Tom.
I think of those good horses, they're just different from day one. They work as slow as their company. They work as fast as their company. They don't mind if they're inside horses, outside horses. They just they start to stick out after a while, you know. I think when this horse ran first time, we knew he was very talented. Obviously, running 6 furlongs probably wasn't what he wanted to do. And then the light bulb kind of went on. After his second start, when he broke his maiden, he really just started doing things a lot differently, and started acting differently as well. You know, I think sometimes we don't give them enough credit. They don't. They're good. You know. Yeah.
Did you? A lot was made sometimes of the 4 or 5 horse fields you faced in California. You did have the rough trip at Santa Anita Derby, but did you feel this horse had that aggressiveness and physicality to do what he did yesterday?
I did. If you able to watch the drone view of the Santa Anita Derby, I mean, for 4.5 furlongs, he was certainly, for at least 2.5 furlongs from the 4.5 to the quarter pole, he was overcoming adversity. You know, had a horse lay right on top of him all the way up the backside, and obviously get bottled up around the turn. And Umberto was able to find a seam, but to the casual observer, to the guy in the grandstand, you can tell that he's not in a great spot, but with the use of that kind of technology, I mean, you could really see like there was a lot of race riding going on, you know, half a mile from home. So,
I mean, similarly last night as he's coming around the far turn and Umberto still has him on the inside, are you wondering how's he going to get through?
I actually wasn't wondering how. What I was wondering was, coming to about the half-mile pole, it never looked like he was traveling like he was in the Kentucky Derby. He was kind of picking off horses on his own. And Umberto last night was kind of keeping him, you know, in rhythm with him to keep him up in his spot. And it looked like he was going to kind of come off of the fence and then came back down inside. I mean, I think saving ground obviously is something you always want to do in a situation like that. It's hard to tell, but it looked like when he came down inside, coming through this 3/8 pole, he really started to engage and put himself up in kind of almost like a spot he did in the Santa Anita Derby, right behind, you know, a handful of horses. And I think that's just when the fighter in him kicked in, you know.
Does the way he ran so powerfully yesterday kind of send a message about running on 2 weeks? Future Triple Crown.
I don't like that. Is you'd have to take that on I think a horse by horse sort of a thing. But in this particular case, I was so relaxed around the horse leading up to the Derby, because he was doing so well. After the Derby, he just kind of was doing everything nearly the same, eating the same, acting the same, front of the stall, sleeping in the afternoon. So it crossed my mind right after they hit the wire, knowing that he had those races like that. I think maybe a part of you wants to finish what you started. The competitor in you wants to go ahead and try it again. But he was almost unfazed by the 1.25 miles and all the pomp and circumstance of Derby Day.
What's the process now in terms of when does he go back? And when do you
we're going to figure that all out here shortly. There's a chance he can head up to Saratoga, just kind of hang out there for a bit.
How did he come out of the race?
He looked very good today. Looked very good last night. Surprised for all the bumping and stuff. He's relatively unscathed, which I'm certainly grateful for.
So you could stay here until.
We're gonna try to figure out. I mean,
how long did they
not a whole lot going on here right now. So.
Right.
But I think they're ready to put the padlock on this place, to be honest with you. So
I'm just curious, I'm assuming you can't go back to the track here.
no,
right?
I wouldn't.
So
No.
have to-
We'll come up with a game plan here in the next day or so.
Has this? You talk about them putting the padlock on it, and that's right. But has this place come to mean something to you that you couldn't have guessed when you first
certainly.
showed up here with Ron Bauer?
Yeah. When we came here in 2021, things were a lot different. We had a horse that was fortunate enough to receive a free berth into the Preakness by winning the El Camino Real Derby, and really came in here sort of under the radar. He was a horse that was doing well, and he was, strangely enough, he was having a crazy good month, and I thought Flavin gave him a stellar ride that day. I think his time was very respectable. So he was getting good at the right time.
Yep.
This horse, I mean, he sort of $825,000 yearling pedigree to match. This is maybe the kind of thing you'd hope he's destined for.
If you go to Saratoga, does it necessarily mean you run, or does it mean I
think
need
it
to
puts
go
him in a
somewhere?
position to run. Yeah. He could go back to Churchill Downs and hang out for a week or two and then make his way to Saratoga, but it seems a little counterproductive to head 12 hours by van back to Kentucky to head back to New York, whether it be by plane or by van. So Aaron's here. We'll talk about it.
Do you want him, meaning journalism, to prove that he wants to go back? And you know, if you had your job,
I
would you
think
like
that's
to do it?
that's well. I think I'd like to see what he's kind of telling us. Now it's 2 races in 2 weeks. He ate up last night. Seems like he's pleased with himself. So we'll weigh the pros and cons. I said to Aaron, last night as we were walking down the stairs, part of me feels like we could have been here 2 for 2, but just glad winning any of these 3 races is quite an accomplishment. So just happy to grab one of them, and he's acting like he's wanting some more here. By going to New York, at least it puts us in a position to.
People watching obviously would be enthusiastic to see him in Sovereignty again. Is that part of it at all for you? Is there an allure to that?
Yeah, I think it would be great for the sport.
Yeah.
And hopefully both horses stay healthy, whether it's in the Belmont or the Travers or the Breeders' Cup Classic. We get a rematch, and the public gets a rematch and stuff like that. So, obviously, it would be nice to line up in this. I mean, I think it'd just be a great, I think it'd be great for racing, period. I don't have any sort of the competitor in me doesn't say, yeah, I'm really looking forward. I just think it would be good. They're 2 very good horses. And Derby week, I thought if there was a horse that could give us a run for our money, it was Sovereignty. He just seemed to be getting, as the week went on, it just seemed like he was getting better and better every day. He had a lot going for him. He'd stabled there before and had a race over the track, I believe. So, yeah.
Do you worry about him? You're coming back. You'll be 30 in 5 weeks. He'll have sat in Saratoga since 2 days.
I think that's part of what you factor in to all this stuff. Whether Sovereignty was running or not today, I think we had always felt like the 2 weeks coming here just seemed to suit us, really. I can't tell you. I don't have any. I just feel like the horse is doing well, and it's 3 races in 5 weeks. If it's 3 races in 5 weeks and the horse seems to be doing as well as he's doing right now, it'd be hard to offer up any excuses. You know, as far as we're here, we're entered. We obviously thought the horse was doing as well as he could be doing. You know,
Is part of it that you just in your heart and your head think you have the best 3-year-old?
I think he's arguably between him and Sovereignty. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think it's really splitting hairs. We've won 2 Grade 1s this year. He's won 1. You know, I thought his Florida Derby was better than looked. I think certainly if you know the connections, I'm sure they weren't really gearing up for the Florida Derby. So yeah, I just it would be neat to have a crack at them. Hopefully everybody, as I said, is doing as well as they could possibly be doing, and if it's in 3 weeks in the Belmont.
Is there a little self-imposed deadline? And I have no idea like when horses need to be off the grounds here. I don't know.
I think they're, like I said, I think they're looking for us to get out of here now. I'm sure we're, yeah.
But you know,
I'm sure there's some guys here getting some overtime they're not real happy about. But I don't
like to make this by Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll figure it out here in the next day or so. Yeah.
Did the entries for the Belmont close on Sunday of the weekend before? Pretty much following. Is this going to kind of be? Should we expect what maybe happened here at the Preakness? A couple of days before we might get the final green light sign, or how do you think?
Yeah. What happened last week was not like to keep anybody guessing or what have you. I needed to get back to California, needed to spend some time there. Wanted to make sure when I came back that he was kind of the same horse, doing the same types of things when I left. Justin Curran, my assistant, told me the horse was acting phenomenally, moving wonderfully, eating up. And so I had asked him about a week ago, you think this would be a bad idea? He said, not at all. So, you know.
Would you go to Saratoga with him? Or
get there at some point. Figured, yeah, we got to figure a couple of things out here. Yeah.
You're sticking around for the sales. For
yeah, I'm going to stick around here with the sales for a day or two.
Sales tomorrow.
Tuesday.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll get with
The horse is going to stay on the East Coast,
everybody.
you would think, right? There's not much for a 3-year-old male in California at
There's not right now.
this time of the
There's
year.
not right now. You know, we've got the Affirmed, which is probably not in the cards. You've got the San Diego Handicap, I believe. There's another restricted 3-year-old race, and I'm not even sure if the San Diego. I think the San Diego Handicap is 3 and up.
Yeah, it's a prep for the Pacific class.
Yeah, there's a restricted race for 3-year-olds at Del Mar, and then the Pacific. Yeah, and then the Pacific Classic. So obviously the meat and potatoes is back here for the time being.
Given you, obviously, with those 2 races, you wouldn't have to do a lot with him. But does he, as you figure this out, are you in like I need to get him back on our racetrack by Wednesday or Thursday type of thing, or is it because he's done so much that whenever
he'll get back to the racetrack. You know, give him a couple of days, as I said, figure out where we're going to be, and just I'd imagine somewhere by the middle of the week he'll find himself on a racetrack, whichever one that is right now.
appreciate everything.
Thanks, guys.
Great job.